So, the ending to Borderlands 3 was met with a lot of mixed feelings. I'll admit I'm still pretty mixed about it, but it did give us things to talk about, like, for example, Lilith's sacrifice. Now, after I started making videos for Borderlands, I have gotten into the habit of overanalyzing anything and everything, and having gone back through Borderlands 3, I've been hit with new perspectives on everything, including its convoluted conclusion. Today, I'm going to share those perspectives with you in an attempt to figure out where we'll go next, what certain things might mean, and if there is a wider picture we aren't seeing. So to quickly recap the ending, we defeat a Tyrene that merged with the Destroyer. Lilith and Ava claim the power that's supposed to be theirs, but the opening of the Great Vault, if nothing is done, will still destroy Pandora. Lilith takes it upon herself to use her power to stop the process by removing the vault's key. Elpis. The opening is stopped, Pandora is saved, and Elpis is branded with the symbol of a firehawk. Or was it? There are many in the Borderlands community that believe Elpis was engulfed in a flame that scarred the moon, killed everyone living on it, but stopped the opening of the vault. But that really couldn't be further from the truth. According to Tannis, the only way to stop the destruction of Pandora was to get rid of the moon.
How do we stop it?
Very simple. We can't. Not unless you know a way to remove the moon from the sky.
Burning the moon, engulfing it in a sea of flame, just burns it. It doesn't stop it from being used. For example, the Krakening didn't stop the moon from being used as a key, so why would engulfing it in a sea of flame do it now? In fact, it's much more likely that the moon was transported. And I say this because Lilith's ability as a siren is called phase walking, which, to describe it, is essentially like Frodo from Lord of the Rings putting on the One Ring and entering another realm. And Lilith's ability also applies to the things she touches. So if I had to guess, instead of just moving the moon elsewhere or destroying it, Lilith used her power and phase shifted the moon into another reality, which is technically moving it without actually moving it, but that's besides the point. Now, as we hear from banter between Tannis and Ava, this process, phase walking an entire moon, could kill Lilith, and I have no doubt that it did, but there's something to remember here. The entirety of Borderlands takes a lot of inspiration from ancient Greek mythology, and Lilith is no different. You see, Lilith is commonly referred to as the Firehawk. Another word for Firehawk is Phoenix, which in Greek mythology is a bird most notable for its power of rebirth. Legends say that a phoenix, when it dies, does so in a show of flames and combustion before starting the process of rebirth. If you watch Lilith's sacrifice over, this is exactly what happens to her, meaning that, using Greek legends, Lilith will probably be reincarnated sometime in the future. Or if you want to go with the idea that Lilith did brand the moon and it did stop the opening of the Great Vault, perhaps then the rebirth isn't just for her, but the entirety of Elpis. And this all leads me right into my next point. When Lilith sacrifices herself, Ava says that the brand left in the sky is lighting the way.
She's gone.
Not entirely. She's lighting the way.
Now your first logical question might be, well, how do you know that? Which, if we go hear what Nereid, one of the first sirens, has to say about her sisterhood...
I have never known a time without my sisters. Even when one passes and a new siren receives her markings, she always finds her way to the sisterhood. It seemed the will of the universe that sirens be together, our lives entwined like an unseen braid.
All sirens, once they are a siren, know things without really knowing why. So given that information, it's logical for Ava to know things without actually knowing why she knows them, because she's taken up Maya's power. And with that quickly being answered, your second logical question might be, what is it lighting the way for? Obviously, Elpis, or whatever replaced it, is a beacon, but for what? This is honestly too large of a question to talk about here today, but if we look at Greek mythology, we can come up with a possible answer. Now, The main plot of Borderlands, its themes, its lore, are heavily tied to the Greek legend of Pandora's box. And Pandora's box in mythology is usually an artifact filled with things that can cause great pain and suffering. As the Greek story goes, when Prometheus stole fire from the gods to give to man, Zeus took vengeance by gifting Pandora, the first woman, to the brother of Prometheus. With Pandora was a jar, and upon opening it, as it is the natural curiosity of man to do so, she unleashed sickness, death, and many other evils. By the time she shut the jar, everything had been unleashed except for one thing: Elpis, which is the personification and spirit of hope. Does that all sound familiar? Because going back to the ending of Borderlands 3, Lilith's sacrifice heavily symbolizes the end of Pandora's box. Many vault monsters across Pandora were slain, and the largest of them, the Destroyer, was brought low, leaving only Elpis as a beacon. And while the story of Pandora's box doesn't necessarily give us an answer to what type of beacon Elpis actually is, I can deduce that the moon, under the effects of Lilith's power, now stands as a beacon of hope and an indicator that the monsters of Pandora have been purged, akin to the actual Greek legend. Now, I could be wrong. It could also be a literal beacon calling the remaining Sirens, or the Crimson Raiders, or even the Watcher to Pandora, but we won't really know for sure until Borderlands 4. I could go on, but this video is already long enough, so I'll save the topic of Elpis and what it now symbolizes for another time. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns regarding this video, Borderlands, or its lore, you can leave them in the comment section down below, and I'll be sure to read each and every one of them. Thanks for watching.